Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're staying warm because this doggo braved the winter weather for you, traveling to Rosemont, Illinois to attend the furry convention Midwest Furfest, aka MFF. An OG con that is known by many, making memories for the furry fandom for over 20 plus years. So grab a hot beverage or cuddle up to the closest fursuiter and relax while I break down my experiences, insight, and highlights from attending MFF this year. Midwest Furfest, also commonly known as Furfest or just MFF, is a furry convention held annually in Rosemont, Illinois. MFF began as a furry track for DuckCon, which is a Chicago-based science fiction convention. It started at DuckCon 3 in 1994 and was headed up by Robert King. It grew largely yearly, and it was estimated by DuckCon 8, which was in 1999, between a quarter and a third of all the attendees were due to the interest in the furry track. Now, the track ran into problems because it was running out of room to expand without costing other parts of DuckCon's programming space and time. It was decided that the best course of action was to move into a new convention. Thus, Midwest Furry Fandom Incorporated was created and MFF was born, taking place in November 2000 on the weekend before Thanksgiving. Now, the parting was amicable, and DuckCon lent a good bit of expertise and map power to help make sure the first year of MFF was a success. Well, since then, the convention has grown from 473 attendees in 2000 to 15,547 in 2023, making it the world's largest in-person furry convention, surpassing the previous title holder, Anthrocon, by 1,903 attendees. In 2023, MFF's total amount raised for charity surpassed $1 million, raising over $1,132,917.97 in total for various charities. Now, speaking of charities, a phenomenal milestone happened this year at MFF 2023. Everyone raised a staggering $185,758.31 for the 2023 charity Live Like Rue that helps animals with cancer. Now, I may be mistaken, but I do believe that was the largest amount ever raised by a furry convention ever. Plus, holy cow, the amount was insane. Now, for this year's MFF, the theme was Snow Days, held on November 30th through December 3rd at the main hotel, Hydrant Regency O'Hare, and the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Now, sadly, there was no snow days this year, so don't expect any pictures or videos of fursuiters having snowball fights and making snow angels. Sorry, everybody. The GOHs this year was Wild Acai, a well-respected fursuit maker who runs Waggerly Studios, and Jackaloo, a well-known author and artist for many years in the furry fandom. When traveling to any furry convention, especially if it's your first time, it can be a daunting task. But don't worry because this doggo's got you. If you are one that prefers to fly into MFF, then you're in luck for several reasons. ORD is quite an accessible airport for both domestic and international travelers, being the fourth busiest airport in the US and one of the top 5 airports for domestic connectivity. The main hotel is also just 5 minutes from the O'Hare International Airport, making it super easy for friends to just pick you up or grabbing a quick Uber if necessary. But do you want a cheaper option? Well, make use of Hyatt and several other hotels' complimentary airport shuttle service to and from the airport. MFF's main hotel shuttle service is 24 hours, leaving every 15 minutes between 4 a.m. to 12 a.m. and every 30 minutes between 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. For Terminal 1 and 3, shuttle pickups are outside Door 1 of the Bus and Shuttle Center, and Terminal 5 and international flights, shuttle pickups are outside of Door 5E. Now, I will note that the walk to the shuttle pickup can be quite a trek, so make sure you have walking shoes on. The airport is also steps away from the Chicago CTA Blue Line for those that are making use of the transit system. You can also take advantage of a combination of the CTA, that stands for Chicago Transit Authority, buses and train services leading into Chicago and the MFF Hotel if you are coming from other areas or cities within the state. But what if you're driving to MFF and staying at the main hotel? Well, then leave your car at the highest secured lot with convenient parking options, including 5 floors that cover parking and an outdoor lot featuring 2 Tesla electronic vehicle charging stations. The first 30 minutes of parking are complimentary with no validation required. Now, I will note that this is not a cheap option, with overnight registered hotel guests paying $40 overnight and $50 overnight for non-registered guests. Also, please note that the hotel does not offer parking for RVs, trailers, box trucks, or vehicles that do not fit within 1 parking spaces. So, if your car does not fit this criteria, it might not be subject to approval and be subject to ticketing and towing. Now, you might also be asking Coda, hey, if I'm traveling to MFF and not staying at the main hotel, then what is traveling and getting around like for attendees? Well, if you want to drive from one faraway hotel to the main hotel, it can cost you a lot of money to find some place outside the main parking. So it's not really a good option in my opinion. Also, the main hotel itself would charge you $40 or more for 30 minutes of parking. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel, for Midwest Furfest is pleased to announce a new shuttle network for attendees at partner hotels which are not accessible from the Sky Bridge. But as noted, there is a Sky Bridge you can walk through if staying at one of the connected hotels. But it can be very cramped. It takes a long time to walk through it with heavy increased traffic. There was a lot of condensation as well, making the walkway slippery, so you had to be very careful, especially if you're a suitor. Also, as noted, the CO2 levels were way too high during peak hours, some points reaching 7 to 8 times the safety limit. As one attendee noted, if you're at MFF, please be careful if you cross the Sky Bridge at peak traffic hours and stay clear of it. It seems it's not properly ventilated for the level of traffic it's receiving. But thankfully, I will personally note I didn't hear any major instances involving issues with the CO2 level. Overall, the weather was mild compared to other years, so many of us, including myself, just walked outside to get to the main hotel or our desired destinations. Since we have been on the topic of getting around the con block, I want to dive into the accommodations a bit more for both the main hotel and other hotels in and outside the con block. So, as I mentioned, there is one main hotel, which is the Hyatt Regency O'Hare, but there are also 11 additional non-main hotels under the con block. On top of that, there are several hotels that are much closer and accessible if you're staying outside of it. Though it will cost you a fair bit of money to stay outside the con block, so it's not really a money saver or option for many. Looks like the Hilton has been pulling themselves out and ones associated with them that are in super close proximity of the con out of the con block to take advantage of the heavy attendance and making a higher profit. But for example, the Embassy that was on the block last year is where I stayed, and then they pulled out this year. But for this year, I actually did stay at the Hilton closest to the convention center and paid around $1.5K for the room for the entire weekend. Now, if we're going back to the main hotel, there are 1,095 rooms, including a variety of 42 suites. There are 3 main floor areas for furs to lounge and suit around, and a very open area leading up to the hotel rooms. This gives you a vantage point from the rooms above, allowing you to look down in the lobby to see what's going on. Now, some of the panel rooms are in and around the con spaces, with one part shooting off to the right when you're walking up the hotel entrance. This is where the main stage ballroom is located for major events like the DJ dances. Though the somewhat condensed floor layout doesn't really make for a smooth walk around the con spaces, especially when you're going up the escalator onto the main ground floor that spins out from the ground level floors. Many a times, attendees would crowd that area, almost entirely blocking others from getting off the escalator, which, of course, is dangerous. But once you're off the escalators, the top far right is the executive wing area, where more rooms and some huge suites are located. Conveniently, for those that are staying in these rooms, they have their own elevator. So, lucky for you all. So I find MFF to be one of the more heavily congested con spaces to walk around in. Now, the rooms at the main hotel are nice, and the variety of suites are known to be fairly big in size, able to accommodate large party and gatherings. Like the biggest suite, the VIP suite, is a whopping 1,660 square feet with 2 bedrooms and 2 parlors, 3 full baths, a full wet bar, and can sleep up to 8 people. I stayed at the Hilton, as I mentioned before, and the rooms were quite nice, with a small seating area to chill and water pressure in the shower that could take paint off the walls. The service was really on point. I got asked every other day if I was doing well and if I needed anything. Check-in and check-out was a breeze, which I could check out on my phone, making it super convenient. And the elevators were never busy, like 1 minute max wait time to get in an elevator. No joke. So overall experience, Hilton was actually very pleasant and chill atmosphere, so I was pleased with my stay. Since we're talking about elevators, sadly, Elevator Con cannot be avoided, especially due to the increased numbers at the convention each year. Though I'll mention that on December 1st, there was a technical issue that was so bad that all the elevators in the main were down. The only way up or down was on the stairs, which is pretty bad and of course led to some accessibility issues. But thankfully after a little bit, a couple of elevators started working again and we were back in business. Again, I'll quickly note that I had no issues with any other hotel when it came to elevators, especially mine at the Hilton. Now regarding on accommodations overall, the hotel room lottery, which is your only way to get into the main and comp block hotels, is still quite a labor, leaving most disappointed when they find out that they didn't get in the main hotel. I am one of those who hasn't gotten in the main for the last 2 years, but I will say that it was better managed this year compared to previous years, and I do know quite a bit of friends that did make it, so I will consider that a plus. If we are pitting MFF against other cons when it comes to accessibility on the food and drink fronts, it would fall short, unfortunately. This con is never known to be convenient getting food, especially during certain hours of the day. Starting with options located in the main con hotel, you have the Perks and Perks to Go, which features Starbucks coffee, along with fresh, healthy items to grab while on the go, and chef-made creations available for pickup. The Red Bar and Lounge in the lobby features pub fare, appetizers, and comfort food classics with an array of booze options, though it only opens at 4 p.m. and gets super busy right away until they close. It is a popular hangout for many furs, so you can see what's going on in the main lobby, depending on where you're sitting for more sociability. The OH American Grill does have an expansive breakfast buffet, but only opens for a limited time between 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Now, outside the hotel dining, you have food kiosks located in the lobby and near the dealer's den areas with food options like fries, burgers, and pizza for a price. There is also a taco food kiosk and nothing but cakes inside the dealer's den itself. MFF did have a food truck this year called Kate and Jan's Hot Dogs, which I would say was a savior for furries at this event, since they stayed very long hours from the evening into the night. At one point, I think they even stayed until 3 a.m. Honestly, I don't know what we would have done without them, and the food was actually pretty good. Now, if you're willing to walk 15 minutes from the main hotel, you can hit up the food court over at the Fashion Outlets of Chicago. They have a decent variety of food in the mall and shopping. I had some good ramen when I was there, and also there is a couple of restaurants along the way to the mall if you want something different. If you don't want to walk, then I hate to tell you, Ubering or getting a ride for your friends is your best bet. Booze also isn't convenient outside the typical expensive bar options with long wait times. The best bet is to Uber to Target or the liquor store next to the 7-Eleven to get your party drinks for the con. I personally head up to Target to grab beers and needed food and some hydration items for the room. And for those that have asked, yes, you can buy beer and hard liquor in Targets. Moving on to the inner workings of the con itself, we come to registration. Now, honestly, the first time I'm saying this from attending this convention several times, but fantastic job on registration. This year, they really were able to hit their stride, making this seamlessly never-ending line con virtually disappear. And at the beginning peak of its first opening, I only waited 45 minutes, watching the line move relatively fast. To give you some numbers to chew on, registration at its peak helped nearly 1,700 people an hour. Whatever you did, MFF, do not lose this working formula. Like every con, we love to know what events are going on for that year, since it shapes the overall experience and desire to attend for most con-goers. So let's begin with the Midwest Furfest Dealer's Den, which offers a chance for attendees to purchase products from artists and vendors from all around the world. Like Anthrocon, this Dealer's Den is insanely huge. Like, I swear you need a GPS tracking on your friends if you want to find them in there. Actually, funny story, some of my friends actually did have live locations on to try and find each other. The dealer's den was mapped out using aisles with big letters from A to P, with the P section being for adult annexed area only. There were so many vendors that it could be super overwhelming. So I'm not gonna lie, most of you will likely have to do a couple rounds before you're settling on something to buy. But at least there's a huge variety of things to choose from, so that's a major plus. Outside the dealer's den, you have the artist Menagerie that consists of two sections. The alley, a place for our attendees to pre-use a daily rotating list of individual artists for pre-made and commissioned works, and the marketplace, a space that offers attendees a set list of specific artists available for the whole weekend. I did something a bit different this year that I don't normally do at a con, and that is attend several panels. Now, let me preface that I do enjoy the education and informative aspects of going to a panel. I just at times find myself running around the con too much. So this year I attended several panels, which were the VTuber and content creation panel, TikTok panel, Twitch content creator meet and greet, and the VR chat IRL meet and greet. I think you can see a theme here. These were all great ways to learn more about their respective industries and learn what others are doing in terms of content creation from technology, programs, techniques, and tips. Also, just to meet fellow creators, a well-needed networking tool for those interested in collabs with others and serious about growing their channel. I will note that these panels were very popular, some almost overflowing in the halls, making the room like 20 degrees hotter. But thankfully, I wasn't in full suit, so hats off to those who did, like Juice. You are a trooper, Yeen. Outside the informative panels, I attended the VR chat meetup. Bruh, it's absolute brilliant chaos. There were so many furs showing up, and I got to meet lots of friends I haven't met in real life yet. It was a great way to put an avatar to a face and hang out. Speaking of VR chat, the Fursuiting Gateway was there again this year. It was fun as always, getting a chance to interact with all the adorable beings in VR chat while at the con. Just walk up to the projector and mic and begin chatting and interacting to your heart's content. I had some of my friends actually transform into a Tatum version of my persona when they saw me, which was like super cute and made for a good laugh. Mwah. Thank you all. Okay, first off, I want to take a moment to recognize that the caliber of talent this year in both the Fursuit dance competition and Floor Wars was beyond exceptional, and I mean that. I have seen and judged dance comps at Furry Cons in the past, and this year blew me out of the water. Like, damn, everyone was so good. Even some dancers that just barely didn't make the cut got to dance a little during intermission, and they were insanely good too. So you can tell the level of sheer talent they were working with. Now, the staging for the Fursuit dance competition is a dream come true for the dancers and the attendees. The stage is huge, giving a ton of space for each dancer to strut their stuff. It is also high off the ground, so both the onlookers and judges can see every aspect of the dance comp clearly. The lighting effects were also amazing, adding to the hype. Now, the Floor Wars utilized the main stage's huge ground level dance floor to the fullest, giving a great space for the dancers to battle it out to their heart's content without any obstructions. Again, you can watch from any angle, especially with the help of the two big screen projectors on both sides. Congrats and much love to all the dancers that participated and auditioned for this year's MFF. You are all amazing talents. Okay, on to the dances and DJs at MFF this year. They were fire, like absolute fire. The dances were busting at the seams each night. Saturday felt like you couldn't even make it in with all the attendees almost against the entrance, which says a lot because it's a huge ass main stage room. And even Thursday was insanely busy, setting the stage for the electrifying energy the con was going to bring this year. And honestly, some of my best memories I personally had come from the dances. I really loved the dance circle forming near the stage, and me and a friend even participated by us lifting our friend on our shoulders and dancing him around it. Now, the lineup was amazing with some known DJs that hit the furry stage, such as Kigo Boys, Jayla Fame, and Suda Normie, TechFox, and Rekka to name a few. Also, hats off to the lighting and sound crew for really knocking out of the park at the dances. But one thing I was somewhat impartial to was the updated bag policy at MFF this year. Only large transparent bags were allowed into the dance area, but exemptions were made for medical items after proper inspection. Smaller bags are allowed, but all bags were searched by MFF safety staff before entering. So if you couldn't get your bag into the dance floor, there were lockers available like all weekend outside the grand hallway, manned by an attendant. However, you had to pay money to use them. Now, this really isn't a deal breaker for me to attend a con, but I kind of felt like it was a bit excessive. I've been to this con several times in the past and other cons all over the US, and I have rarely, if ever, heard of a bag causing an issue or safety concern on the dance floor. This is just my opinion, so, you can just take it with a grain of salt. Now, for those that have attended MFF in the past, you know when you know. And what you know is that MFF is considered one of the party cons. Tons of room parties in and outside the main hotel, and flooding the suites in the main as well. The range of parties you can attend is vast, from the chill to the most adventurous side, if you know what I mean. And if you look at the common area of the lobby at points of the night, you can see what type of parties and themes are going on, based what some of the attendees are wearing when they leave the room. It is a great place to party, and if you happen to land one of the suites, especially the big ones, most expect you are going to throw a big get-together or party with friends. I mean, come on. With a huge suite like the VIP suite, for example, how can you not take advantage of the space to host a fun event with friends? Midwest Furfest is a chaotic ball of fun and electrifying energy that most can get behind. A con which might not be the most convenient when it comes to hotel accommodations or food, but most go because it's one of the more massive social and partying cons. And when the weather is not horrible like this year, it makes for great fursuiting, especially outside the hotel entrance where lots of suitors like to hang out and cool off. Now, one thing I will note that MFF could do if it wants to strive forward as a popular con is to stop the rinse and repeating. They seem to like a formula used years ago and not deterring much from it. MFF is falling a bit behind when it comes to the innovative side, where some other notable cons like FWA are thriving in that area. There is a lot of potential to introduce new and innovative events, and ones that resonate with today's con-goer and generation of furries coming into the fandom. An overall great con that is the biggest in the world right now, but still has plenty of room to grow in certain areas. This doggo is done giving you a rundown and highlights of MFF 2023. So if you have attended this con, I would love to know your experiences this year and in the past, so don't forget to comment below. And speaking of not forgetting, if you haven't already, slam that like and subscribe button to keep up to date with future videos and support this orange doggo. Till next time, stay awesome.